I'll bet you can guess which city I'm in, even if you've never been here. I'll give you a hint. The best food.
The great art.
The best wine.
The romance.
The best girls.
The great history.
Need another clue?
It's Paris! Paris is the capital of France. Justine Shapiro and myself, Adela Ucar, will be exploring the city's landmarks and the Royal Palace of Versailles. The easiest ways of getting to Paris is on the Eurostar from London. In only 3 hours, you can be right in the center of the city. So just sit down, relax, and enjoy the ride.
The whole idea of using a tunnel to connect the two countries first came up in the 1800s with Napoleon, and the train started running in 1994.
If you book in advance, you can get a one-way ticket from London for around $100. And unlike flying, check-in is just half an hour before departure. We arrive in the Gare du Nord, just north of the city center.
Bonjour, je voudrais aller à l'Hôtel Nel dans le quartier latin.
Justine is about to do battle with one of the city's taxi drivers, but I think I've got a better idea. To get through Paris's heavy traffic, I've done a bit of forward planning and booked myself a motorcycle taxi. It's not particularly cheap at 25 euros or $31 for one trip, but you could spend the same amount of money stuck in a taxi. Paris is split by the River Seine and divided into 20 different arrondissements or districts. I'm on my way to Montmartre in the 18th arrondissement, while Justine is heading for a hotel on the left bank in the 6th district.
You might end up getting a tour of the city whether you want one or not, so it's a good idea to keep an eye on where you're going. Monsieur, vous allez par où?
Eh bien, je vais par ici, la rue La Boétie. Ensuite, je vais tourner à droite sur les Champs-Élysées.
Make sure you know some French before you get on the taxis. Make sure you don't take a taxi driver. Don't let him go anywhere before you've decided where you're going because he just took off. Know the exchange rate.
It feels stupid.
Otherwise, it's a disaster.
Nous avons essayé tout à l'heure une rue, elle était encombrée. Alors il faudrait que vous me disiez si vous préférez que j'aille plus vite.
Non, c'est pas que je préfère. It's not that I want to go down a particular street. I just don't understand why you... Wait, I want to go here. Just here.
Poor Justine. Glad my driver is the strong, silent type.
Quand ils sont arrivés, il y aura un prix au-dessus et moi je vais vous déduire. Là,
You're going to give me a little deduction on the fare. Okay.
Okay.
Ça va. Okay.
Nous allons donc sur le quartier latin.
Okay.
Montmartre is one of Paris's most charming and bohemian areas. Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour madame.
Hi, I'm checking in. My name is Adela Ucar.
Okay. So you booked the royal room, the Catherine Deneuve, on the 5th floor.
Catherine Deneuve.
Catherine Deneuve,
Every
yes.
room's got a famous name, right?
Yes, all the room have French famous name.
Okay.
Voilà.
Great. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your stay.
Thank you. See you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye.
S'il vous plaît, le rue Dauphine. Rue Dauphine. Voilà. At the bottom of this street.
Bonjour, mademoiselle.
Bonjour. Good morning.
Good morning. Sit down.
Merci, thank you. Do you have any rooms?
Yes,
Yeah?
room single.
Single just for me? Yeah.
How many days?
For a week.
Ah, 1 week.
Yes.
Wow, not bad.
What a nice room.
I'm staying in Catherine Deneuve's room, and it seems to be just as beautiful as the actress herself. Huge bed with a very nice canopy. Never slept in a bed with a canopy before. It's very nice. It's very, I would say, very red.
This is so beautiful. Well, this is definitely the room I want to stay in.
Yeah, are you
This
going to
is
be
great.
by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. It's a room for lovers.
It is kind of romantic, isn't it?
Yeah. You should share
Well.
this with someone else.
Okay, maybe I'll find it.
I'm in the heart of the artist's quarter. This is the area where Renoir, Picasso and Lautrec used to hang out. And today, it's still an area for painters.
Montmartre is the highest point in the whole city. It was originally a separate village, notable for its windmills.
When you walk around, you can just sense the energy of the city, so it helps you and inspires you. So I always
If you're
come
an
to
artist.
right.
It makes you. It's easy to create.
As Montmartre was outside the city walls, there was no alcohol tax. So in the late 19th century, its cheap bars and cafes became very popular with impoverished writers and artists.
Lots of painters used to have their studios in this building called Bateau Lavoir. One of them was Picasso, who used to live here during his blue period. This is the I love you wall, and it says I love you in 311 different languages.
You have romance all the time. Paris is romance, whether you have it or not. It's there.
In 1870, two Catholic businessmen said they would build a church to the Sacred Heart of Christ if France was saved from the Prussians. And that's it, Sacré-Cœur.
Paris may have been saved from the Prussians, but it wasn't saved from the tourists. Some think the basilica resembles an ice cream, but if you don't like the architecture, you can always take in the view. On a clear day, you can see for over 20 miles. And Justine is out there somewhere in the city centre.
Paris has got to be one of the greatest walking cities on planet Earth. But if you need public transportation, it's very well organized. There are loads of buses and taxis up there. But down here is the star of the show, the metro.
Even the street musicians in Paris have got class.
Justine is heading for one of the greenest sides of the city on the left bank, which is on line 4 of the metro at Odéon.
The metro is the fastest and easiest way to travel around the city. Trains start running at 5:30 a.m. and finish around 1 o'clock the following morning. The Jardin de Luxembourg on the left bank of the river is the most popular park in the whole of Paris. The 60 acres are centered around Luxembourg Palace and provide a quiet retreat for the many Parisians who don't have gardens.
Lots of things to see, extraordinary architecture, different things like gardens and old buildings, palace, exhibitions.
There's no point in spending a lot of money on a tour bus when, for the price of one of these, you can hop on any city bus you find, and the number 73 is number 1 for sightseeing in Paris.
If you take the city bus, you risk getting caught in heavy traffic jams, but it's worth the ride just for the views.
And these include the River Seine, the Louvre, the Place de la Concorde, the Champs-Élysées, l'Arc de Triomphe, and the Musée d'Orsay, where I'm heading.
There are over 150 museums and art galleries in Paris, and one of the cheapest and quickest ways to gain access to them is to get a museum pass. They are sold in tourist offices, museums, and metro stations.
I suggest that you go in for a 4-day pass, which costs 45 euros. The pass is good for about 70 museums and monuments. The card permits you to go, don't wait in line, you go right into the museum like a VIP.
Sold. I'll get one of them, please.
Okay, sure. I mean, we are really very happy to give it to you because we treat everybody like a VIP and
Great.
No problem. So it's 45. So it is 4 consecutive days from the day you make your entrance.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's
Very
a pleasure
good.
for us. Thank you. Bye.
There's no better place to start using my pass than here at the Musée d'Orsay, which holds France's national collections of paintings and sculpture from 1848 to 1914. This grand building was originally a train station and was turned into a museum in the late 70s.
You could easily spend a whole day here. The museum follows the chronological route from the ground floor, leading up to the highlights of the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists. Jeuquet is an art historian working at one of Paris's top private galleries.
In this painting, Manet didn't respect perspective, another way to not respect academic tradition.
He was a bit revolutionary, right?
Yeah, and he really opened the field for Impressionists.
Interesting lunch.
Manet's painting, The Picnic, opened the way for Impressionists such as Renoir, who portrayed Parisian life. His most famous painting was Dancing at the Moulin de la Galette. Later, Post-Impressionists developed a style of their own, such as Toulouse-Lautrec, who depicted the cabarets of Montmartre.
Oh, that one I know. Van Gogh. Was he really mad?
Yeah, he was mad. He committed suicide. He sold only one picture. The last self-portrait was sold $71 million.
Wow, if he had known.
The Musée d'Orsay is outstanding. The thing that I love most about it is it's accessible. You can wrap your arms around it. Not like the Louvre where you feel lost all the time. They've got small rooms, great art, you get really close.
That's the thing about Paris. You are always close to art wherever you go.
Well, I've come here to see the Picasso Museum, but there's something happening across the street that I've never seen before. Is this art?
It's drama.
Do you know that guy?
Yeah, he arrived this morning and said he was an artist. And he said, we asked him, what can you do? He says, I can hang myself. And I can also decapitation. How do you say that?
Cut off my head?
Yeah, I can cut off my head. And other performances like this one.
Oh my, he's having a little trouble getting back up, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
What is this place?
We call it Socapi. Socapi, Picasso, Socapi.
Oh, I've never seen it before. Is it new?
It's 6 months. For 6 months, about a bunch of 30 artists have invested this place, which was left abandoned for...
Ah, so you're a squatter.
Yeah, you can call it.
Bravo!
actually divided into two by the River Seine, and each side has a very different feel to it. The left bank is famous for its artistic and intellectual life, while the right is home to the business and political side of life.
But business isn't on the agenda today. It's what Parisians do best: shopping. Each district of Paris has different specialities. Books in the 5th, designer labels in the 1st, and trendy boutiques in the 4th. Their role in the 6th arrondissement is probably the city's most unusual store. No animal is too exotic or too ordinary to be stuffed for its present owner, Prince Louis-Albert de Broglie.
Hello.
Hi.
Interested by a tiger?
Yeah?
Now or to take away?
Sorry?
To take away. You can take it away.
How much would it be?
It's 30,000 euros.
30,000?
Yes, it's a wonderful Siberian tiger, male.
Wow. Well, I have a budget, you know, but...
No, don't worry, it's a...
It's pretty scary. Look at the teeth.
Well, you know, he's just smiling.
What is this place all about? Where do all these animals come from?
It's the oldest natural science company. It's called Derol, and it's most probably one of the oldest in the world. Since 1830, teaching the nature, explaining what is nature, how to look at nature to be able to protect it.
And where do the animals come from then?
All over the world, from zoo, natural breeding farms, naturally dead.
They died by natural causes then?
Most of them, yes.
Can you show me a bit around?
Indeed.
Great, thank
little,
you.
Renardo, little fox.
You can buy any of the animals?
Yes, this black bear is leaving for Italy in a few days. Yes, he's
And what
gone.
kind of people would buy these animals?
A young, pretty girl like you.
Really?
That apparently has bought it. So, lucky she.
And do people bring their pets to get stuffed?
They used to, especially dogs and cats, but it's finished because I find it quite weird to see all these people crying when they bring the animals and of course 6 months later they forgot, and 6 months later the animals are being not stuffed but stocked here, and we had masses of cats and masses of dogs, and most of them were rather old and unpleasant to look.
The market I'm going to now, called the Chateau Rouge, apparently specializes in African ingredients.
Justine's in the 18th district, visiting the city's African market.
There's a lot of different types of quarters, the Latin quarter, the African quarter, and it's really interesting because sometimes you walk into these quarters and you really don't know that you're in Paris anymore because you've got bongos playing and, you know, it's just a whole different culture and a whole different world.
Much of what's on offer in the market has been imported from the former French colonies in Western Africa.
What is this?
This is a cow skin.
This is cow skin?
Yeah, cow skin, dried one, and we use that in preparing soup.
What do you call these nuts?
These are just like peanuts.
But they're sweet. Tastes like sugar cane.
Yeah, they are very good. And in Africa, it's good. They are very good for men.
Why are they good for men?
Because they give the juice.
You don't need juice. You're a gorgeous young man.
Oh, yeah.
Frank, is this a kind of escargot?
Yeah, these are snails, also used in preparing palm nut soup.
What's that down there? Is that like a... What's that? What's that? Is it having a baby? Is that a baby?
This is not a baby.
Is it a poo-poo?
I think, no.
What is that?
It's going through a process.
It is going through a process?
Yeah, this might be a male one.
Oh, it's a snail penis.
Yeah.
Also on the right bank lies the Marais, one of the trendiest places in Paris. It was fashionable with the upper classes in the 18th century, but after the French Revolution, the area became a slum. The Marais has always been Paris's Jewish quarter. And since its regeneration began in the 1960s, it's also become known for its art, boutiques and gay scene. On Sundays, all cultures mix happily together when people come for a stroll and to shop.
I'm gonna have a traditional French crepe. Excusez-moi, what flavors do you have, please?
I have chocolate, I have sugar, I have lemon, Gros Marnier.
I think I'm gonna go for the chocolate one. And how much is it, please?
€3, please.
€3, which is about $4, but I think it's worth it.
It's just a simple pancake, but the French do it best.
Yummy! Merci beaucoup!
I prefer eating, so I leave it to Justine to find out why the French are so good in the kitchen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So this morning we'll do the pisse saladière, a typical dish from Nice.
One of the best-known cooking schools in Paris is the École Cordon Bleu, where for as little as $50 a day, a master chef will let you in on some of the secrets of French cooking. Cordon Bleu simply means traditional French cooking.
Oops, I go.
Looks like you've got mostly water.
So sweet. I was sort of expecting to be a bit intimidated by the French chef. You just throw it around.
Yeah, you throw this way.
Throw.
You pull.
Pull.
You
Throw.
throw, you pull with the palm. Okay?
Throw, pull.
The dough will not stick on your hand later.
Okay.
That maybe you need for 3-5 minutes to do this.
5 minutes?
Yes.
It looks like something that came out of the swamp, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Now, Justine, it's time to cry.
Time to cry.
You do this.
Okay. People come from all over the world to take classes and learn what makes French cooking so good.
But you know, because time is money anyway.
Oh, this is time. I love time. Ow!
No, a little more. Okay. And then you have your black olive oil attract your eyes.
I'm almost there.
So,
Oh, I
first
like
of all,
that. That's
the taste,
beautiful.
great taste, and then the decoration. So just a little piece for the tasting. That's what?
That looks great.
She'll put on it on top is a bit of pepper, fresh pepper. Even olive oil like they make for the pizza with piment.
It's so tasty.
10 on 10.
And the topping is very tasty.
You know what we miss with this?
Good topping.
You know
Wine.
what we miss? Yeah, that's right. A good glass of wine.
And we really love fancy places. Right. And wine.
Yeah, we do actually.
Fashion capital of the world, and this week is Fashion Week. International designers are here to display their ready-to-wear spring and summer collections. Dame Vivienne Westwood, the avant-garde creator of British punk fashion in the 1970s, has a reputation for eccentric designs. I'm very lucky to have been invited behind the scenes by Philippe Rees, a model booker at one of Paris's top agencies.
Okay, so this is where everything happened, like the makeup and the hair.
Yeah.
You can't forget that for makeup artists and hairstylists, this is a show too, so they have to show their imagination and the whole thing.
It's a show for everyone.
For everyone, even for us. Huh?
It is for us, definitely. How are you feeling?
Oh, I feel beautiful.
Yeah, you don't nervous or anything?
Well, I mean, it's always special to do Vivienne's show because it's nice to be around her. She's a really fun person. She always brings you good energy.
Yeah.
You know, and every time you wear her clothes, it's just fun and at the same time it's beautiful and it just makes you feel really, you know, like a woman.
So it's about an hour before the show. Everyone's getting nervous. Media have already arrived. And if we are lucky, we might see a couple of celebrities. Fingers crossed.
Ooh, Janet Jackson. Throughout her 30-year career, Vivienne Westwood has used many influences in her designs, from youth and street culture to 18th century tailoring.
What's so special about showing in Paris?
The point is that everybody shows here, so I'm not going to go off on a mountain where nobody will come. I go where everybody comes. Paris really cares very much about its reputation as being the cultural heart of Europe.
And for this collection, what was your inspiration?
The theme of this collection is I am expensive.
Yeah.
I am supported by all the poor people in the world who subsidise me. Well, we can all go down the hole if people don't start doing something. But meanwhile, I do the opposite and make them look amazing anyway, and like they're so spoilt.
Oops, with those shoes, I can't believe there's actually water in the can.
This is Paris's original opera house, and today I've decided to take a trip out of the city to visit another grand building, the Royal Palace of Versailles. But instead of going by train, I'm taking a more traditional form of French transport, the 2CV. Hi.
Hello.
Jérôme.
Nice to meet you, mademoiselle.
Nice to meet you. Merci.
The Palace of Versailles is 12.5 miles southwest of the city, and if you don't fancy taking a 2CV or conventional taxi, it can be easily reached by train.
That's beautiful, Versailles. Are we close?
Very close, just in front of you.
Oh my God! Is it that?
The palace was originally a hunting lodge. The extravagant King Louis XIV had it extended and made into his principal home in 1682, where it housed thousands of members of the royal court. The gardens were designed by landscape artist André Lenotre, who flattened hills, drained marshes and relocated forests. Today, visitors can still enjoy a leisurely row on the Grand Canal.
I'm about to meet a very prominent French historian who specializes in 18th century history, Madame Evelyne Lebert. Hello, how are you, Madame Lebert?
Very pleased to meet you,
Adela.
Adela.
Pleased to meet you too as well.
Yeah, we are in a magical place in the world.
It is magical.
Yes, it's a hall of the mirrors. You see? Yes.
This magnificent hall was a favorite of Louis XIV, who was also known as the Sun King.
It was very beautiful because the sun gets down here and reflects in the mirror.
Over the years, the gallery has hosted official signings of historic treaties, including the European recognition of the United States and the Treaty of Versailles, which ended the First World War.
Yes, it's a perpetual show.
Versailles is probably most famous for the controversial Queen Marie Antoinette. She was brought to the palace from Austria at the age of 14 to marry the shy Prince Louis, who was to become Louis XVI. It was not a happy marriage. Marie Antoinette's extravagance and suspected affairs made her unpopular. She often lived in her own fantasy world, where she played at being a milkmaid.
Yes.
Completely different. It's like a fairy tale town.
Yes, it's a village. Marie Antoinette wanted a village for herself, and she thought she was in the country here.
Life at the palace was very public, which the Queen hated.
Here is Queen Bedchamber. The Queen slept here, and she gave birth to her children here.
Great, not
yes,
bad.
in public, you know.
In public?
Yes, in public. Because really, everybody want to know if the baby was the real baby of the king and the queen.
But did she sleep with other men?
I don't think she had real lover, but she loved Count Axel of Fersen. but we don't know if they were really lovers in the bed.
In 1789, Marie Antoinette's world fell apart.
The mob was in the courtyard, and Marie Antoinette was terrified, but very, very courageous. They went to Paris. They were not prisoners.
So they spent a bit of time in another palace in Paris before going to jail?
Yes, 2 years later.
The revolution had begun, and tomorrow I'm back in the heart of Paris to learn about Marie Antoinette's fate. Starting at the Place de la Bastille, tour guide Harry Spencer is going to take me on a walk around the main sites of the revolution.
If we had been in this exact spot just before the French Revolution, we would have been in jail right now.
And we don't want to be in jail.
We do not want to be in jail. So we're lucky that the Bastille was actually torn down just after the revolution began. However, there is a little reminder. If you look, there's one of the round tower outlines. I can see. Behind me is another one, and then a third one off in that direction. And that plus the plaque is the only reminder of this great ancient fortress.
Numerous wars had left France practically bankrupt, and attempts to introduce new taxes sparked the uprising. From Bastille, we make our way 2.5 kilometers west to the Conciergerie. Once a grand palace, it became a jail and housed prisoners of the revolution who were kept in appalling conditions.
They would sleep on the floor, on straw that wasn't changed very often.
And it was only the poor people that stayed here, right?
Yeah, they were called actually in French les pailleux. That means the straw people. So that's all they had to sleep on. The people who had a little bit more money or the important prisoners were kept elsewhere in so-called better conditions.
And one of those was Queen Marie Antoinette, who was accused of treason.
This was Marie Antoinette's second cell.
But this looks more like a chapel.
It was made into a chapel by Louis XVIII, who was her brother-in-law, to show he had a heart. So this is literally a memorial to Marie Antoinette.
It's beautiful.
Also, the wallpaper looks like tears, because it's supposed to evoke all the tears that Marie Antoinette cried. This was called the preparation room.
And is that a basket full of hair?
Yes, it's a rather eerie reminder of what they did. They actually cut their hair.
Really? Why?
Well, a guillotine, like any single blade, actually doesn't cut hair very well. You need the kind of scissoring action to cut hair, so it would get in the way of the guillotine blade, and that's why it was cut free. This is called the Courtyard of the 12. And when prisoners were condemned to death, they were then allowed to come here to the courtyard, and they had 1 hour to say goodbye to the women through the gate there. And then there's a little bell. It's just up on the wall there. When that bell rang, that was the signal that the prisoners were to gather at the gate and to the courtyard, the Cour de Mai.
In October 1793, Marie Antoinette was condemned to die at the guillotine.
Where the revolutionary prisoners were led into the courtyard. This is where you'd have carts called tumbrils waiting for them. They were open carts where you could see the person inside, and they were taken through the gate that's just over here to the north on towards the Rue Saint-Honoré,
which is the main road where Marie Antoinette was paraded on her way to the guillotine at the Place de la Concorde.
This is the route that the prisoners took and were taken towards the Place de la Concorde, which at the Revolution was called Place de la Révolution.
And how did the crowd react to her execution?
The crowd was very hostile, partly because they were already angry at the Queen for who she was, but partly because her tumbril, her cart, was preceded by a man who was on a horse and who was told to rile them up. And when she finally reached the square, people thought would be a big scene. She'd make a big scene, she'd be very upset, but in fact she was very stoic. She probably resigned herself to her fate. She climbed very steep steps to get to the platform where the guillotine was, and she accidentally stepped on the toe of the man who was going to execute her and said to him, "I'm sorry, monsieur, I did not do it on purpose." And that is said to be the last words of Marie Antoinette.
bridges, and I'm standing on the oldest, Le Pont Neuf, which dates back to 1607, and it's surrounded by some of the city's most historic buildings and gargoyles.
One of the most famous monuments is the tomb of the great French military hero, Napoleon I.
This magnificent building, Les Invalides, was founded in 1670 as a military hospital by King Louis XIV, and over the years it housed around 4,000 wounded soldiers. In 1840, the body of Napoleon I was brought here, and it's down there, in that huge coffin. Napoleon lies in 6 successive coffins, one inside the other like a Russian doll. One in marble, one in tin, one in mahogany, 2 in lead, and 1 in ebony.
Although he died in exile, Napoleon was still held in great regard. Over 100,000 people turned out for his funeral. His legacy of civil achievements, such as the codes on law, education and banking, are represented on the walls in marble. Napoleon and his nephew Napoleon III were leaders who really cared about the development of the city.
It's only from up here, on top of the Arc de Triomphe, that you can truly appreciate what the great city planner Baron Haussmann achieved when given the order by Napoleon III in the 1800s to create the most beautiful and modern city in the world. Buildings in the shape of open books. That's the National Library. It was the last grand projet that Mitterrand made before he died in 1996. Some people call it a monument to one man's ego. I think they're beautiful, but they don't really seem to be made for books or for people. The books are kept in those tall glass towers which are like ovens in the summer, and the public, for the most part, are kept on the ground floor. But there are over 10 million books in that library, and you can guarantee that the one you want is going to be checked out.
But if you want to find a book to buy, you can browse in the Latin Quarter, which over the centuries has been the haunt of many famous writers.
Historically, left-bank intellectuals and writers led a poor life, starving in attics and drinking in local cafes. One of the favorite hangouts of the Beat generation in the 1950s was this bookshop. Today, it still attracts writers, and it's got the biggest selection of English language second-hand books in Paris.
The building itself actually used to be a monastery for Notre Dame, but the bookshop was opened in 1951 by my father, George Whitman. In the 50s and 60s, a lot of Beat writers hung out here, and that includes Jack Kerouac, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Allen Ginsberg in particular. And then later in the 60s, it was writers like Lawrence Durrell, Anais Nin, and Henry Miller. I'll show you if you want. I'll take you a mini tour.
Great. And what do you mean by Beat?
Beat, okay, well, those are books like I'll show you here. This is like a section on on Beat writers. So Beat is like Beat poetry. The reason it was called Beat was because it had a rhythm to it. It's like music. They were kind of quite a radical group. Ginsberg often did readings naked.
Really? Can't believe it.
Yeah, apparently he did one outside here naked. So.
No way.
And he said it was because he was shy, so if he got naked, then it kind of overcame his shyness and he could get on with his work. Yeah, this is actually the Russian section.
Russian.
And I don't know if you've noticed that underneath the books are beds. Very first day that Dad opened the bookshop, he invited unpublished writers to come and stay with him.
Oh, how nice.
And so he encourages writers to come and sleep here as long as they're actually writing something. And this is Rosie, actually, who's staying with us.
Hi. So you're staying here in the bookstore?
Yes.
As a resident, right?
Yes, I've been here for a week now.
For a week? Not bad.
I heard about Shakespeare and Company from some friends back home in Ireland. So I came with my suitcase, not knowing if I'd be let in or not, but I was, and I'm very grateful because it's very hard to find accommodation in Paris. Yeah.
Is it a good place to stay?
Yeah, it's great.
They treat you well?
She's got to answer the right say yes, because I'm standing.
Of course she will, yeah.
Reading evenings are open to anyone with an interest in literature.
Every Monday in this room has seen writers from all categories, some of them very, very well known.
I've got the first poem that I'm actually getting paid for coming out. It's called Metro Beggar. She's propped against the wall of the long station corridor. You have to wonder how she got here. Does her family dump her somewhere every day so she can display her deformities to strangers for small change?
What does inspire you the most from Paris?
I've been told, and I'd read in some places, that Paris was quite homogenous, but I find it, quite open and really not a melting pot, more of a casserole of it's flavoured by all these different influences, but it's very much itself at the same time.
Yeah.
After a long day of sightseeing, I needed a hot bath. And my day is not even over yet. I have a big night out, and I bet you can't guess where I'm going. Oh la la! The Pigalle area of Paris borders Montmartre. Its decadent reputation began in the late 1800s when aristocrats, bohemians and prostitutes mixed freely in its bars and cabarets.
The Moulin Rouge is the most famous nightclub in Paris, home of the Can-Can. It's not long before the show starts, and I've been invited backstage, which means I can jump the queue.
Prostitutes and opium dens may have long gone, but the Can-Can is still alive and kicking. And it hasn't changed for over 100 years. The cabaret is a more sophisticated event these days, with beautiful girls adorned in feathers, sequins and not much else. They come from all over the world.
Where are you from?
I'm from Australia.
And how come did you thought about being a dancer for the Moulin Rouge if you live on the other side of the world?
Well, because the Moulin Rouge is famous all over the world. It was always a dream for me to come and dance here.
Since then you've lived in Paris. How do you find it?
Paris just has a feel. You walk around, it has an energy. Each little arrondissement has, it's like its own little village. And I still, after 5 years, I'll walk across from the right bank to the left bank and cross the Louvre, and it still takes my breath away.
Dinner and a show will set you back nearly $200, and if you can bear the cost, the tourist and the businessman, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
A wonderful evening together with my mon ami from France. It was really perfect, I can say.
Very beautiful, very professional, beautiful boy, beautiful ladies, very innovative.
I like it's very good, but I doesn't like the girls showing the butts to my husband, but it's great.
The Eiffel Tower. It was built in 1889 for the World Fair by engineer Gustave Eiffel. 2.5 million rivets hold together 18,000 pieces of metal. On a clear day from up here, you can see for miles and miles and miles. And at night, it twinkles.
I used to think that Paris would be great if there weren't so many Parisians. The city seemed intimidating and unfriendly until I learned that with a few French words and a huge smile, you can disarm even the biggest French snob.
Paris has been amazing, even though I've seen it many, many times in TV, in movies, pictures, but it's very surprising. The streets are full of amazing shops, little cafes.
Paris is extremely accessible, and with a little effort, it doesn't have to feel like one big tourist circuit. And don't let anyone bully you into believing that French food, art, and fashion are only for Parisians.
The museums are very interesting, but sometimes the best of it is to leave the guidebook in the hotel, just walk around and find your own Paris.
There's a doorway to all these French institutions, and once inside you realize Parisians aren't snobs at all. They're just really proud of their wonderful city. So, step inside.